VHS Files contains spoilers, adult content, and harsh language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's showtime. It's showtime.
Welcome to the VHS Files Podcast with Jenny Lou,
So what do you want to do tonight?
Jason,
What about pizza and movie night?
Eric,
I want to rent a movie.
and Josh.
I want to go to a good video store so I can get a good movie.
And this is the movie of the week.
Get this pizza movie night started.
Welcome back, everyone, to the VHS Files Podcast, where we go back in time for a movie of the week and look for the almost famous, a bigger quote in the good, the bad, and the ugly of our favorite or forgotten films. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at VHS Files Podcast. You can also check out the VHS Files YouTube channel for more content. And please, if you like our podcast, give us a 5-star review on iTunes and share this episode or any of our episodes with your friends and family. It will really help us out. And how are you guys doing tonight? Unfortunately, Jenny will not be joining us, but Eric and Jason are in-house.
We're not in your house.
We're in our houses.
You're in my computer screen.
We're in the Matrix.
It's funny. It's so funny to think about the fact that we've been doing this show for over a year and have never done a show all together. That's crazy.
Yeah. I don't even know how I'd do that.
I know. I mean, we were so...
Might be difficult.
Yeah, we'd have to look at each other like in the flesh, and like actually it would be so weird.
I don't want to look at you in the flesh. I hope you're going to wear clothes.
No. I mean, that's the thing.
No,
I mean,
it's better for the acoustics if you record nude.
Right.
I read that
actually,
somewhere.
that's false, but
No.
Well, is it? Maybe.
we
Have
should
you
try it
tried?
out.
No, let's not.
Well, before we get into the movie of the week, I just want to throw a little bit of stuff out there for you guys. I was a guest on the Silver Linings playlist with our buddy Nathan. That's his podcast. And I was talking about the film Possessor, directed by Brandon Cronenberg. Had a great time with those guys. And I was also on the Backlook Cinema podcast with Zach and Zoe talking about John Carpenter's Vampires. So the links for those episodes will be in our show notes tonight. Please head over and check those out. Those are some great shows and some great guys. So please go over and give them some love.
Yes, do.
Spread the love, the podcast love.
Did you guys record nude?
No, we didn't actually.
No?
You know, what's
Oh,
funny is I've recorded both those podcasts, and, we do our show over Zoom. For this, here's a little bit of background information for people who listen to our show. We record over Zoom, and we record on camera so we can all see each other while we're recording. And I just, from us doing this for so long, I kind of figured this is how everybody was doing this in the pandemic, but recorded both those shows with no video or anything, just complete audio. And I was like, whoa, this is kind of weird. Like, I'm used to seeing the people I'm talking to.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a little strange, but those shows turned out great. I've listened to both of them. They sound great. And I definitely would like everybody to head over and give those shows some love because they're great shows. And you probably hear me or Eric or Jason on there at some point in time. I think Eric's done Not a Bomb already, and Jenny's been on Not a Bomb. Jason still has yet to do it, but definitely go check all of our friends out and give them some love.
Yes, friends.
I'm special.
You are special.
But on to our show for the week. We are now into the horror season, with it being October, so we will be talking horror movies all month long. And this week, we have a movie that Eric picked and has been wanting to talk about for some time.
You won't shut up about it.
The Evil Dead.
The movie of the week.
I have seen the dark shadows moving in the woods, and I have no doubt that whatever I have resurrected through this book is sure to come calling for me.
No, it was the woods themselves. They're alive, actually.
I fear that the only way to stop those possessed by the spirits of the book is through the act of bodily dismemberment.
I don't care what happens to her.
She's your girlfriend. You take care of her.
So, Evil Dead was released September 10th, 1981, which has an asterisk by it because I've found a couple of different dates for when this was released.
I got October 15th.
Yeah, I also had October 15th, so pick one. It was directed by Sam Raimi, and this is not listed as his first film. I thought it was, but apparently he's got a film before this called It's Murder.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't
seen the movie.
Haven't seen it. Haven't heard of it. So, but this is, I would think, what Sam Raimi is primarily known for. Another little, sorry guys.
Thank you, Coca-Cola.
Another little note here is the assistant editor on Evil Dead was a Joel Cohen. Did any of you guys notice that?
No. I did not pay attention to that.
Joel Cohen of the Coen brothers. So
holy shit, I never knew that. That's probably, people are going to roll their eyes, like movie people are going to roll their eyes at me for not knowing that. I never said I was any kind of expert, you guys.
Yeah, just another asterisk here. The VHS files are not experts at any movie we talk about.
Oh, hell no.
We're not experts on really anything.
I mean, I may have seen these movies, we may have seen 20, 30 times in our lifetime, but you can't remember every detail. I can't remember the cinematographer from freaking this or that or that. I just love the movie. That's what we're here to talk about.
And the more we watch it, the more we love it, the more it grows over time with us. We tend to find these things out. And I will say, we'll get into this here in a minute. Evil Dead was not one that I really kind of grew up watching. So some of the things I caught this time around and some of the background and production information I saw was kind of surprising to me. But yeah, it's funny to think that we possibly wouldn't have The Big Lebowski or No Country for Old Men or any Coen Brothers movie. Like Evil Dead was the foot in the door for Joel Cohen.
Is Evil Dead the most important film ever made?
I mean, if it brought us the Coen brothers, I think it might be.
It might be.
That's only because Josh loves The Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski is the best comedy ever made, friends. If you don't agree, then you're wrong.
Josh loves more than, I mean, I love Big Lebowski too, but I mean, the Coen brothers are.
Even though my love for Big Lebowski is so great, I mean, there's, their entire filmography is so impressive that, like, just because they brought us the Big Lebowski doesn't mean they haven't, brought other great things to the film industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hey, and on the fact that Sam Raimi went on and brought us Spider-Man to the big screen.
Right. Now
1, 2, and 3.
We're gonna get to that here. It's Murder before this, and this is notoriously a student film. I believe he had to scrounge to get the money together for this, and was showing it to anybody and everybody to get it made. And this was really what put Sam Raimi out there for the world to see. And after this, he would go on to do Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, the sequels to this movie. We would go into the comic book realm early with Darkman. He kind of took his version of Batman and put it on film. And he also did some drama stuff like The Quick and the Dead, A Simple Plan, which is not really a heist movie, but like one of those where some people find some money and then some bad shit happens sort of movie. If you haven't seen A Simple Plan, that's a great example of a Sam Raimi movie that is not horror, but very good.
Yes, A Simple Plan is fantastic.
And then he's got stuff like The Gift. And as Jason just mentioned, the Spider-Man trilogy, the original Spider-Man trilogy that came out in the 2000s. Got back into horror a little later in his career with Drag Me to Hell, and then did Oz the Great and Powerful, and will now be bringing us a new MCU movie with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I can't wait to see this.
But we also got his awesome extra sequels to the Evil Dead things, Ash versus the Evil Dead later too, which are on Showtime. I watched that. I loved it.
I only watched the first, I think, 2 episodes, so I'm not up to date with Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Yeah, I didn't get into it either for whatever reason, and that's whatever, neither here nor there, and no one cares.
Well, I will say the fact that he is who he is now in Hollywood with this movie. This movie had a budget of roughly $375,000. I mean, one of the smallest budgets I think we've ever seen on our show here so far. And this was another place where things got a little murky with the release date and the actual box office bring in for Evil Dead. I get 2.7 million or 29.4 million. That's a big gap there. So I'm not sure where they're pulling that from.
Well, they got the 2.7, but it says 2.7 to 29.4 world.
Okay. So 2.7 could be
the US,
which is crazy considering, it did better overseas than here. That's pretty amazing to me. So if that's true, I mean, I couldn't confirm nor deny any of that information. So, but this was released in 1981 amongst the likes of another movie we've covered on our show, An American Werewolf in London, The Galaxy of Terror, Hospital Massacre / X-Ray. It's called one of the two. And, and another movie we've covered on our show so far, the sequel to Halloween 2. So you can go back and check out those past episodes if you want to hear what our thoughts were on those. But for now, Eric, take us back in time.
We're sending you back in time.
Whoa, this is heavy.
Well, Josh, 1981 was a big year for arcade games. I know we all probably spent some time in arcades as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Nintendo's Mario made his debut in 1981 in the arcade hit Donkey Kong. Also, Donkey Kong's first appearance, of course. Hey, you guys know what Mario's favorite state is? Louisiana. Thank you. A classic arcade game, Frogger, came out in 1981. Interestingly, it had the most ways to die than any other game at the time, including alligators, cars, snakes, and water. You guys know what game frogs like to play? Croquet.
That was.
Is it hot in here?
Or do you have a frog in your throat?
Oh.
No jokes from you. This is my joke time.
I get a joke.
Other huge releases that year were Miss Pac-Man, Galaga, Defender, and Centipede, all classics. Did you guys hear they're making a Tetris film? Yeah, I hear it's going to be a real blockbuster.
Oh.
Hey, who doesn't love some Tetris? Who doesn't love Tetris?
And finally, let's try an exercise here. Let's close our eyes and go back in time to the sounds of the arcade in 1981. Hit it, Josh.
Oh yeah, it's like some ASMR stuff right here. Mortal Kombat!
I don't think it was out in 1981.
Wrong era. Yeah, it's the wrong era.
That's my era of video games. That's a cool sound, though. I remember walking through that pocket change in the mall.
Oh, sure. Or even the bowling alley, or so many.
Your local pool hall, anywhere that arcade game.
Yeah, just like a little room. Your parents are bowling, and you sneak off to the arcade for a while. Good times.
Yeah, I mean,
always loved playing the Addams Family pinball machine.
Ooh, yes. Pinball.
That was great.
I was never too big on pinball. I don't know why. It just wasn't my thing. I do remember there being there's arcades in the movie theaters and whatnot. I remember my mom, I've probably told this story on the podcast before, but if not, it's story time with Josh. My mom took me with her to see Top Gun in 1984 or whenever Top Gun came out. And this was not a movie that 4-year-old Josh wanted to see by any means. Like, was not exciting to me. So I remember her taking me to the movie theater, sitting down to watch this movie, being bored out of my mind. And then literally, like, at this time, I'm 4 or 5 years old, got up and walked into the lobby by myself and went into the arcade and just sat there looking at all the video games while my mom finished Top Gun.
Oh, dude. I mean, I spent plenty of time pushing buttons on a machine that I did not put money into.
Oh, yeah, we all did.
I mean,
me too.
Good Lord. It was still fun.
Now, do you ever get the luck where you hit the one player button and somebody had left a
one that is the greatest.
I learned that you always hit the button for the one player, and somebody might have left a quarter or had a life and they had to walk away, and you get to play a free game. And check the coin slots too.
Always check the coin slots. Yeah, hit the return change.
Always.
On every payphone as well.
I was going to say, you're going to show our age here, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, that reminded me of payphones. I would always go over and hit the return thing and see if a coin would drop out in a payphone.
And every now and then it would, baby.
It would, yeah.
Hey, I remember back in the day, quarters went a long way. I mean, you could have a lot of fun with quarters. And now Eric's got kids. It's more like, hey, I'm going to town. Can I have a 20?
Yep.
Yeah. Nothing less than a $20 bill. They can't leave the house.
Dude, I mean, a $5 bill could get you some food, some games, a drink.
Ain't inflation a bitch?
Especially in 1981. I mean, I was only 4.
Back in my day.
Back in my day.
In 1981, I wasn't born yet.
You were just that little shimmer in your daddy's eye, just hanging out back there.
Yeah, we'll call it that. All right, well, it was a big hit when we did it last time, so let's do it again. We're going to do some trivia.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
All right, I enjoyed so much going over the Razzies last time we talked trivia, so I went back to it this time because 1981 was the first annual Golden Raspberry Awards. They were held on March 31st, 1981 at John Wilson's living room.
Yeah. Okay. John Wilson's living room.
To recognize the worst the film industry had to offer in the year 1980. So therefore, we're talking about 1980 films, even though this happened in 1981, but nonetheless. So our first trivia question for the night is Saturn III and what other horror film received nominations for Worst Picture? If you need a hint, I will give you one.
I think we need a hint for 1981 because I never even heard of Saturn III.
We have the hint is we have covered this film on our podcast.
Is it Life Force?
I was waiting for that one to come up. No, it was not Life Force.
I'm thinking 1980. I don't think I think of it as Friday the 13th.
You are correct, sir. It was Friday the 13th. Received a nomination for Worst Picture.
What? That movie is golden.
It did not win, though.
Get the fuck out.
It did not win.
Interesting.
I heard from somebody on our show that it's just schlock. Eric.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot all of our Friday the 13th is all that schlock movies. Sorry.
Listen, that's not exactly what I said, first of all.
Oh, it doesn't matter exactly what you said. That's what we're saying you said.
Yeah. Next question. What high caliber director was nominated for Worst Director for one of the best horror films of all time?
T-minus 30 seconds.
Is it? No. It's not going to be John Carpenter, is it?
We have not covered this movie on the podcast. Another hint is I fucking love this movie.
10.
Is this Spielberg?
8, 7,
no?
6,
Hooper?
5, 4,
Wait, I thought we were picking a director, not a movie. What the hell's going on here?
We are picking a director.
I said Spielberg. He said Hooper. I don't know.
We don't know.
Stanley Kubrick. Nominated for Worst Director for The Shining.
Oh
shit.
Yep. Damn. I was like, holy shit. But after reading that, I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot. Like, a lot of people hated this movie when it came out.
Especially Stephen King. Stephen King hated it.
So this one kind of plays into that one, though. The Shining was also nominated for one more award. What was it for and for whom?
T-minus 30
Best
seconds.
actor, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
Oh, shit.
Is this all Razzies?
Yes.
Worst performance, Shelley Duvall.
20 seconds.
Shelley Duvall.
Shelley Duvall, yeah.
I see you looking at your computer, you fucker.
No. I would never cheat. I would never cheat.
I thought we were talking like regular. I didn't know we were talking about Razzies. Yeah, it'd be Shelley Duvall. That would be the easiest choice.
That's correct.
Because she's fucking horrible in that movie.
No, she's not, actually.
I disagree, Jason.
I get annoyed with her.
No,
I get annoyed with her. I just act like she's not there. I just focus on Jack.
You're watching that movie all wrong, sir. But anyway, this is not pertaining to the Razzies. Let me just make that clear. So,
okay.
Our next question is, what was the original name for the Laserdisc?
T-minus 30 seconds.
The Laserdisc.
Gosh, who knows?
You're never going to get it, but I love the answer so much that I had to include it.
Movie record.
Yeah, metal record.
It was called Disco Vision.
Oh, get out of here.
Hey, keep disco evil, people.
That's right.
Disco, they should have stuck with that. Would have been a huge hit.
All right, last trivia question of the night. Again, this does not pertain to the Razzies or anything else. This is just a standalone trivia question. Originally released on June 14th, 1981, opening at number 1, this blockbuster film reclaimed number 1 9 weeks later and held it for 5 more weeks. What movie was it?
Holy shit.
So the movie was released in June, and
Was
then
this E.T.?
in August, all the way through September, came back and did number 1. And it is not E.T.
Yeah, not E.T.
I will give you a hint, though.
Bambi. No.
Spielberg directed it.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Incorrect.
I can't even remember when that movie came out. Again, like I said, we don't know everything about movies, people.
Clearly.
Obviously.
Clearly. This should be a dead giveaway, but I can't. My brain is fried.
Yeah,
okay.
I can't.
The answer is
Poltergeist.
No. Raiders of the
Indiana
Lost
Jones,
Ark.
of course. Indiana Jones.
Raiders of the Lost Ark debuted at number 1 in June 14th of 1981, and then 9 weeks later came back to reclaim number 1 for 5 more weeks, August throughout September.
I love Indiana Jones, man.
You don't call him Indy. You call him Dr. Jones, lady.
That's right.
All right, that'll do it for our trivia section here. And tonight we're going to get into talking about The Evil Dead. Now, Eric, this was a movie you picked and wanted to talk about on the podcast,
Yes.
so we're going to start with you tonight. Tell us a little bit about The Evil Dead, your nostalgia or lack thereof, and what you thought of it this time.
Okay, well, The Evil Dead for me has always been about Ash. I actually started in middle school seeing Army of Darkness first. And then I went back and watched Evil Dead 2. And it wasn't until years later that I actually went back and watched Evil Dead 1. So I started in reverse here. And, you know, having watched The Evil Dead, I haven't seen this in well over 10 years, 15, maybe even 20 years. I mean, this is like almost like it's a first time adult watch for me, largely because I loved the character of Ash so much. I loved Bruce Campbell just going complete ham through those movies. You know, I love that stuff. And when I watched The Evil Dead as a young man, I didn't get it.
Right.
I liked aspects of it, but I was missing that Ash that I came to know and love, that Bruce Campbell really cut and loose. So fast forward to now, I wanted to revisit it and watch it with new, more mature eyes, and because I know it has a huge following. I know a lot of people love this film. I love Sam Raimi and all the work he's done over the years. You know, not all, but a lot of the work he's done over the years, and I'm excited to see what he can do with Doctor Strange. And I just kept thinking about this movie, like, I need to go back and rewatch this. Like, it's been too long. I don't remember a lot of it. I need to revisit this thing. I've watched Evil Dead 2 more times than I could ever count. Army of Darkness, same. Like, those are the ones I grew up with. So yeah, so I thought this was a great opportunity to revisit it and have a chance to talk about it.
All right. I would imagine Jason and I's experience with this movie in particular, not the sequels, is probably around the same. You know, Jason, did you, this was not the one you watched very much growing up, right? It was Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 is my favorite of the three. I mean, I do love me some Army of Darkness. That's right there. But kind of like Eric, I didn't see Army of Darkness first. I saw Evil Dead 2 first. When I watched it, I was a teenager. It was definitely, you see the VHS tape on the shelf at the store, oh, that looks really cool. With the skull with the eyeballs,
Evil Dead 2 is the prime example of like the movie you saw on the shelves at the video store that
thing
like,
jumped out. You're just like, yeah, that thing is death. And
yeah. But I remember reading it and watching it. I mean, it kind of freaked me out the first time. I was a teenager, but I'd watched Jason and Michael kill people forever. It was definitely a different kind of movie. So it was later. It was definitely before Army of Darkness. I went and rented The Evil Dead. And a lot like Eric, I liked the gore and some of this little seriousness that Ash had in Evil Dead 2, but I love the campy Ash Bruce Campbell. That's what I got used to. The little one-liners, a little bit, which you got way into on Army of Darkness. But when you go back and you watch The Evil Dead, there is a serious lack of that. And you're like, but didn't you realize that, like we'll talk about in the movie, Evil Dead 2 is really just Evil Dead 1 with extra stuff on it, which I've said 100,000 times, but it's still a good movie. But it's different than the rest of the films, and even where they even take the character of Ash, it's yin and yang.
Yeah, I mean, there's none of that Ash stuff in the first one. Right?
Yeah,
you get a little bit toward the end of the movie. You can see it when he's having kind of the breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a brief moment that you're like, oh, there he is.
Yep.
And then it's gone.
And I kind of think that's what they did, is at the end of the movie, they saw that, and they probably had so many people tell them, oh, I love it when he's going mad. Like the house is driving
lean
him mad.
into that. Yeah, lean into that.
And then they really took that in part 2, and they kind of did a half remake of part 1, and then tacked on all of the stuff for part 2.
Yeah.
And that's where it got crazy for me. But yeah, it's still a great movie to watch. But I don't know, did you watch it in your teenage years, Josh, or 20s?
I'll be completely honest, guys. This was one that I got to in my adult years. I don't think I ever watched any of these movies until I was in my 20s at least. And it's crazy just loving horror as much as I did as a kid. This wasn't one that ever, the box, of course, jumped out at me at the movie store, but it was never one that my mom was apt to rent for me or anything like that. So this one I always passed up Evil Dead for whatever reason, and never even knew that Army of Darkness was part of that whole trilogy and everything growing up. It was just something I found out a little later. Now, what I do want to get into is where my love for Evil Dead comes from is a long time ago, before podcasting is what it is now. I was on a podcast called Zombie Popcorn with a buddy of mine named Jason Bayless, and we were invited to go review and interview the writer and lyricist for Evil Dead the musical. It was coming through Virginia, and we got to go see the show. We got to meet the cast. We got to meet the writer of the lyrics and then the guy who pretty much wrote the entire musical out, George Reinblatt. And it was so much fun. And for that, I prepared. I watched all the Evil Dead movies. I watched Army of Darkness. I knew I was getting into something that I had to have some knowledge about. So that's when I really got kicked into gear and started paying attention to Evil Dead. I really owe my love for these movies to Evil Dead the musical. And if you have not seen Evil Dead the musical, I know it's not something that's available to everybody, but if you ever have the opportunity to see Evil Dead the musical, do yourself a favor. It is a fucking blast. It is like going to a Gallagher show. There is a splatter zone. If you sit within the first 10 rows of this show, you're going to get splattered with some kind of blood and guts from the stage production. It is so much fun. And this is really where my love for this movie comes from. I think I've definitely watched Evil Dead 2 more than any of them because, as Jason's noted and Eric, the comedy hits there are just something to behold. Bruce Campbell really comes into his own in that movie and owns it the entire time. And the Army of Darkness just builds on that. I remember maybe a brief moment as a kid, maybe seeing this first movie on cable or something and not watching the whole thing because it kind of creeped me out. Like this movie, we'll go ahead and start getting into to the movie a little bit. This movie's pretty fucking creepy if you ask me.
Yeah. This is, I mean, working back in, and this is the weird thing. Like, it's hard to watch this without the prior knowledge of the following films for me. Like I said, I saw them first. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to walk into this. You have to kind of like mentally prepare yourself and go, okay, forget that Ash is hilarious. Forget all the goofy slapstick. Forget all the Three Stooges stuff from the other films. Like, look at this as like a serious horror film. Mm-hmm. And once you do that, yeah, I mean, there are moments, certainly the tree rape, that are incredibly rough and real. And he captures a great mood here that I think he does in Evil Dead 2 just as well. But yeah, it's legitimately creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, even from the very opening sequence, you get this little swamp or little pond and you hear that that I love that noise. He had it in all three movies of the evil lurking type thing, like that POV of the evil wandering through the woods. And it's weird how woods are so foggy all the time.
So foggy.
I want to know how much fog juice they use in these movies for fog machines.
Lights and smoke. We always talk about lights and smoke. We're going to talk about lights and smoke
this
tonight.
movie is
we got a lot of
lights and smoke.
Yep. But if you notice in this movie, they actually don't really say Ash that much. They call him Ashley.
Yeah, like that was one of my first things I wrote down here is just like, how ballsy is it to name your male character Ashley in 1981? Like that was not a common thing. Am I wrong here? Like I don't remember being a kid and hearing a lot of boys being named Ashley. Like that's just such a weird choice.
I mean, I have a friend whose middle name is Ashley. He's a boy.
Right.
Ash here is very different. I mean, we already talked about the sort of change of Ash into the second film, but it's not just the humor. I think the entire character is different.
Honestly, like I feel like Ash really doesn't feel like the main character when we first start this movie.
No, he becomes the main character.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't do a whole lot in this movie. Even Scott has more to do a lot do as far as fighting.
He does a lot in this movie. It's just not very interesting.
Yeah, don't get me started. We can tear Scott apart later. We can get to that part. But the one thing right here at the beginning of the movie, I just want it to be known, and everybody who out here loves the Sam Raimi movies, the most important character in the Raimi universe we see for the first time, the Oldsmobile Delta 88.
That car
is like in every movie. It's in the Spider-Man movies. It's in these movies. It's
definitely
in all those movies. And that's what I remember is every time you see a Sam Raimi movie, I'm looking for it in Doctor Strange 2. If Doctor Strange 2 does not pull up in that Oldsmobile 88, I'm going to be pissed.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be there. It's got to be.
It'll be on the streets in front of Doctor Strange's house somewhere in New York,
right.
or something like that.
Good idea. Yeah, it'll be just parked right there. The Strange Mobile.
The thing with the car, though, is like I love some of the shots that they pull off in this for this low budget, essentially student film. I think some of the shots they pull off are fucking great. And one of my favorites is that scene of the car driving down the trail to the cabin. I think that shot looks great.
The behind shot?
Yeah.
Where they're following them? Oh, yeah, I love that.
There's quite a, there's moments in this movie where you're flat out of focus.
Yeah.
Like they're failed shots that made it into the final cut. Yeah. And then there's also shots that you're just like, that is cinematic gold. Like that shot is amazing. Like,
there's a few of those.
Yeah. And to think that he was able to do that, to pull that off with just his little ragtag crew is this movie has that handmade feel, and it in such a good way. Like it feels like a group project. It feels like you can just see every bit of love that everyone put into it. And it's crazy the amount of bad, but also the amount of amazingly good, iconic, legendary imagery that you have.
I mean, they were building stuff out of like wood for the steady cam, whatever, and actually called it the shaky cam.
It was literally a 2x4 with a camera mounted to it, and Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell were running with this thing in each hand, and that's how they got their Steadicam shots.
Yeah, that last shot we get of the movie is actually it mounted on a bicycle and them riding it through the house.
Yeah,
it's nuts, dude. It's nuts.
It's like guerrilla filmmaking, like at its core, for sure.
And I do like the fact that, I mean, Sam Raimi's making this movie. He's a director, we all know, but really a lot of the reason this movie got made was him and Bruce Campbell. These two like grew up together. They've been friends since like kids.
Yeah. And it was literally them begging anyone and everyone they knew to give them money to finish making this movie.
Yeah, because they did this little short film and they got some extra money put up by a producer, but they had to come up with the rest.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they couldn't even pay crew for half of it. I mean, if you notice the end of the movie, a lot of the zombies and the girls that were in the beginning of the movie, that's stand-in characters playing them later because they couldn't afford to bring them back. Like they couldn't pay them to come back and shoot their
shimps. The shimps, yes, as they refer to his brothers.
Yep,
or two of them.
Yeah, Ted Raimi and the other Raimi that I can't recall at the moment.
I can never recall it. I know Ted because he's up front in most every movie.
Everyone knows Ted, but
he's the Clint Howard of the Raimi.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. But gosh, I mean, I grew up with these guys. I grew up watching Bruce Campbell. I watched him on Xena. Ted Raimi was on Xena too. Even Burn Notice. I mean, freaking Bruce Campbell, dude. I love that guy. I missed an opportunity to see him one time in Tallahassee. And some friends of mine actually met him at a bar, and I wasn't there, and it was really a bummer.
Dude,
but
that's a total kick yourself moment right there.
Yeah, I mean, he's a legend. I love that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I love him in these movies. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of everything else he's been in, but I mean, he's just.
Well, you're wrong.
God, what a snob! This guy.
What a movie snob!
What a snob!
It's because he's not available in 4K or something. I don't know.
Well, I have to say the only reason I agreed to do this movie is because I did buy the 4K and I watched it in 4K. So,
well, my Blu-ray had an enhanced version. Did anyone see this on their copies
I did not.
or anything? There was
honestly, the 4K was not any kind of an upgrade because I mean, how much more can you polish something like Evil Dead?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, unless it's a new film transfer or something, but. I mean, so I started the movie it was also I forget the aspect ratio, but it was like a widescreen presentation.
Oh, mine was 4:3. So that's crazy.
Yeah. It's actually not even 4:3. I think it's something else.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not
the
like widescreen format. Yeah.
It's almost weird.
It's just full screen. It's not widescreen. It's like standard, whatever.
Yeah, they had another version, and I started on that. I ended up switching to the standard version because it looked like when you try to correct a photo too much and it starts to come apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it starts getting
like I'd
blown
rather
out
just look at
everything,
it in its original form than watch this version that you've like cranked up the lighting and the brightness and
right
shit like
I
that.
have the Necronomicon version with the rubber book to it. That's pretty. And unfortunately, my Blu-ray player died today, so I actually had to just watch it on HBO Max.
Sorry to hear that.
But I love this, like you said, the shot of them in the car. Did anybody notice, like we've all watched these movies where they make movie mistakes in the shot.
Oh, this is full of them.
Oh, but I love the fact when they're hollering out, Bruce has got his head out the window. He's hollering at the side of the car. Next shot, all the windows are rolled up and he's sitting down.
Yeah.
I mean, immediately, in less than a half a second, they rolled the windows up in this old crank window car.
Yep.
So
right. I mean, most of these scenes are like clearly you get like one take. Like they don't have an opportunity to, let's reset and try again. No, they're flying by the seat of their pants.
Mm-hmm.
But who loves this cabin?
The cabin is iconic. I mean, you created a horror icon with this cabin.
I love that you said created because they didn't create. This was legit an abandoned cabin in the middle of the woods that they filmed in.
Did they know of this? Like, I mean, obviously they got there, they knew of it, but
they probably just searched for filming sites in Tennessee. And I think they were trying to do it, I think in Michigan somewhere, but.
Well, that's something I have in my notes here is, Linda's wearing a Michigan State sweater in the beginning, and they're talking about that these are college kids, and then you hear Ash talking about they're like right there on the line of Tennessee, and I'm thinking, did they drive all the way from Michigan to Tennessee to go to this cabin?
Maybe.
I don't think that would make a whole lot of sense at that point in time, but
people drive from way up there to damn Panama City Beach for the spring break.
I drove to Massachusetts this summer.
Yeah, bam! Look at there.
So
family trip that you planned in advance.
Yeah, not 5 people crammed in the old Buick.
Maybe these guys planned it in advance. What do you mean?
I guess back then you probably did have to plan it out and make that. That makes sense, but still, I feel like.
How about the paper map, baby? Just
yeah.
I mean, that's just a minor thing, but God, I remember paper. You guys remember paper?
Yeah. What's paper? What's that?
It's this old thing. They made it out of trees.
Comes from trees.
What? You mean the one that I take my notes on every week because I'm old school?
Yeah. Yeah, like that.
Speaking of trees, they also legit just fucking rip down some trees in this movie too.
That's one of the things. I mean, this movie's known for obviously is like the POV. You start with it, the evil presence in the woods. Part of what makes that so effective is the fact that they came up with the idea of it knocking over trees, not just like zipping between trees. It goes straight through trees. So obviously, yes, they pre-cut trees, whatever. There's lots of pre-cut branches and trees in this movie, but the fact that it just goes right through and it just like plows through anything in its way, doors, windows, glass, with so little, they create so much. There's so many great ideas in this.
Right.
It's just, it's amazing how much they did with so little. This has been said a million times about this movie, obviously, but it's just so good.
Well, me and Josh were starting to talk. I like the cabin. Like you said, they found this abandoned cabin that they shot this movie in. I mean, how many times after this do we see these cabin? Well, if the one recently is the movie Cabin in the Woods, it's pretty much exactly like this cabin, because that's everybody's standard. Is like, hey, we got to make it look like the Evil Dead cabin. But the one thing I want to know, I mean, this cabin's cool, and we're all get inside and check it out. This cabin's probably about 600-800 square feet. That cellar is like 1,800 square feet of living space.
Well, it is under the ground. You don't know. I mean, they could have dug for a while, and they're just like, oh, we're going to put a little house on top.
Now, every time I've ever watched either one, Evil Dead 1 or 2, you're like, this cabin's so small. It has the most doors and rooms of the littlest cabin ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's big. It's like Scooby-Doo's doghouse. It's bigger on the inside, you know.
It's the TARDIS from Doctor Who.
There you go.
There it is. You walk through the doors, it's a whole world.
You're the TARDIS.
Fuck you!
Exactly. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Mr. Kevin Bacon.
But no, we get to this house, and here's a couple more of my favorite things coming. Just starting this movie off. I mean, I really respect the fact that this movie's pretty much just gets going from the get-go. Like, it doesn't give you a whole lot of setup time. I love the swing that's bumping against the house as they walk up. That's creepy as shit. And and the shot of Scott when he opens the door and the light is cast upon the smoke or whatever it is in the house, that visual, and then you see the mounted deer head above the fireplace and everything, like, that shot is fucking awesome. I mean, again, for a student film, quote unquote, that shot is one of those that I'm just like, wow, dude, they got an awesome fucking shot there.
Yeah, even the shot back of the other kids by the car. And them kind of like unsure about this place. Like, there's some legit, just beautifully framed shots that like exceed what this thing is. It's just like, wow, that's really good. Like,
the only thing I think was disappointing about going back and watching this, as soon as I see the deer head, all I picture is its head twisting and laughing at him.
Laughing, yeah.
I'm like, why is it not laughing? Oh, that's right. This don't happen in this movie.
You know, I like to do as much research as I can for these movies, and sometimes I do more, sometimes I do less. But this one, I watched the movie twice to prepare so I could see if I was missing anything with my original watch and whatnot. But I was like, I'm going to watch Evil Dead 2 and see like what the differences are and what the comparisons can be. But I was like, no, I don't want to taint my thoughts of this movie with Evil Dead 2 because it is such a close movie to this one. I really just wanted to bank on how this one holds on its own. But yeah, I mean, knowing what we know and knowing where this movie franchise goes, it's hard to see that deer head and not imagine it doing that crazy shit that it does in Evil Dead 2. Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good, Jason.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've been practicing all day for that moment. But I mean, right, like you said, it gets right into it. We get Cheryl, I guess she's our artist of the group, and she's drawing a picture, and then you see her hand with the painted veins on it, and it starts scribbling the cover of a book with a face on it, and you obviously, it's like, shit's happening, it's going down. Even right
that
there
is really effectively creepy. We've seen that, you know, in other films of people being kind of taken over and drawing. I can't think of an example before this film. I'm not going to assume he invented it, but there are a lot of effective suspense building moments in this, you know, like you talked about with the swing hitting the wall, and there's lots of stuff like that with the clock ticking and just different things that really do unnerve you. They're effective.
Dude, there's parts where it's absolute silence, and that's fucking creepy.
Yeah. There is a lot of silence in this movie, actually.
Yeah.
Which again is probably part of the fact that it's so cheap, but it ends up working in its favor. And there's, you know, endless examples of that. You know, necessity is the mother of invention, or whatever it is they say. But you know, it's fascinating, and obviously you have a group of very talented people working on this, and they managed to do some amazing shit. I mean, I was just kind of blown away by how good some of it is. Some of it's not good,
You can tell that this is a film where a filmmaker was doing everything he could to find out how to be a filmmaker. Like you can see in all of these shots and how he sets up the comedy, how he sets up the horror, the gore, everything. You can tell it was Sam Raimi trying to do everything he could to figure out how to be a filmmaker at this point in time.
Sure, he's trying out ideas. Some of them are working, some of them aren't.
Right.
Yeah, he's doing what he can with what he's got.
Well, no, we completely blew past the fucking murder pantry. When Scott goes into the house.
And with the machete hanging on the wall and everything.
Everybody else is out getting their luggage and whatnot out of the car. And this douchebag's just walking around and just getting a nice view of the house. And he goes into what I like to call the murder pantry, where every known bladed thing could be on the wall, machetes, saw blades, anything and everything.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe, this is a hunting cabin. You're going to have things. I mean, I assume that's what all those chains are for, to bleed out a deer that you've shot or something like that,
right.
Process the deer. I mean, that's what all this stuff's for. But yeah, I mean, Scott is a bonehead, clearly. He's our bonehead.
And then you get the dinner scene that Jason just brought up, and we get our introduction to the cellar here.
Cue corny music. That music they play when the cellar, I laughed.
Yeah.
Out loud, so loud when that
there's
happened.
Definitely hints of comedy here that they're going for, and some of it hits, some of it doesn't hit very well. But yeah, the entire thing with the cellar, this is a big portion of the Evil Dead musical, is this point where the cellar opens up and everybody's trying to figure out what's happening. And I unfortunately cannot watch this movie without thinking of a portion of the musical. And the musical blends everything together. They blend Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness together a little bit. But there's a particular scene where when the cellar opens, Scott has a dialogue, and I want to play it for you guys real quick. And this is all I think about whenever I watch this movie now.
I don't like cellars. Let's just close it up. It's probably just some animal.
An animal? An animal? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Jesus Christ. What a stupid bitch.
Well, then maybe it was the wind.
The wind? We're inside. I thought what you said before was stupid, but now that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What a stupid bitch.
Oh, God.
So that's the comedy you have to look forward to in Evil Dead the Musical. Again, I cannot recommend Evil Dead the Musical enough.
Yeah, well, that's Scott in a nutshell. I mean,
that is Scott. I'm about to say that's pretty much Scotty through the whole thing. He's there to get laid by, is it Shelly?
Yeah,
Shelly. Hooks up with her, and then after she's gone, which gets important in the movie, he's really a total ass.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, okay, yeah, you fucking suck. And you kind of, like you said, you think that he's going to be the central character because he's the big guy, and then it turns out to not be that way.
Another shot I love in this movie is the 360 pan in the cellar.
Yes.
Right? My boy. I was about to say the same thing. I love that shot. And it's easy to think that Scott's going to be the main character here because he's the one hitting all the points. He's the one doing, he's the one going down to the cellar. Bruce Campbell
he's
really
the brave one.
Yeah, and Bruce Campbell, I really, just watching this movie, it really feels like Bruce Campbell was there to do the stunts. Because there is not a fucking bookshelf that he does not get thrown through in this movie.
Yeah, he's basically gets his ass kicked through the whole film. I mean, you basically combine.
Yeah,
you combine Ash and Scott into one person, basically. Right?
Pretty much.
But the physical acting that he finally gets into in Evil Dead 2 is phenomenal. Well, we're down in there and we get to the thing. We find the book. Which I'm trying to remember. I was watching this, pay close. They never call it the Necronomicon. They call it whatever, and it says roughly translated the Book of the Dead.
Yeah, I don't think the Necronomicon is ever mentioned here. It's just.
But we see it and the dagger. And the dagger, me and Josh have had so many conversations about this fucking dagger because it shows up in another big time horror movie.
The dagger and the Necronomicon are such like my favorite props in this entire movie. That dagger is designed so well. Like I love the skull shaping on it and everything.
Little bones.
Yep.
Yeah. When the girl gets stabbed with it and the blood like pours out of the mouth of the skull on the handle. Yeah.
And like what I was just saying about that. I mean, you see it here and you see it in Evil Dead 2, stuff like that. But then you see it again later in our lovely movie Jason Goes to Hell, where they basically turn Jason into a Deadite.
Is Evil Dead the movie that gave us the don't read from a book or don't play a tape cliche?
I mean, certainly not don't read from a book, but maybe the idea of a recording of a reading having an effect. I don't know if that happened. Certainly there's been stories where somebody's read words from a book that have set things off. But
I mean, The Exorcist taught us not to play with a Ouija board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of really anything right here before this that was kind of in that same vein where somebody read something that turned out bad.
Yeah. But I do love the simplicity of it here. I think, again, I didn't rewatch Evil Dead 2 to get my information together for it, but they get a lot more into the background of the Necronomicon and everything in that movie, where this one is just really simple. It's the doctor or the professor, philosopher, whatever he is just saying, "Oh, we found this book and we invoked a spirit." Like, it's really simple.
Well, I mean, yeah, it kind of doesn't matter. It's a quick way to go. Okay, there's evil here. Boom.
Yeah.
Let's go. In the second one, you've got the daughter of the guy, and there's all the backstory you get from her and that kind of stuff.
I mean,
but
we get a little bit of description here when he's talking about it. Is, he found it in Kandar, and then he talks later about these incantations that have awakened a Kandarian demon. So he's kind of telling us what is going on with if you read these things. So, but like you said, they replayed the tape. They've now, but that's the thing. They say they awakened, but the thing was already wandering around in the woods.
This is my biggest issue I have with this movie is it's meant to be, we have awakened something, but it's obvious that the evil is there and awake from the beginning of this movie all the way to the end of the movie when it's apparently been destroyed. We don't get that at the end.
Well, maybe, just to play devil's advocate here, maybe it was in the woods, but reading the book aloud or playing the thing gave it the power to possess them or something like that. Maybe, it was stuck dormant until the words were read or something. I mean, obviously it's not established in the film, but
the only thing that doesn't make sense about that is the fact that it possesses Cheryl and she draws the book. Like, it does that before they even find the book in the cellar.
Yeah. It's like helping them find the book. It opens the thing. I mean, maybe it's just weakened, so it can only try to help them find the book.
Right.
And then once they find the book and play the thing, then it's like at full power and it's ready to go. I don't know. I mean, they don't ever actually achieve what it says to do, right? Aren't you supposed to dismember everybody?
Yeah, you have to.
I don't know if it's like inevitable. Like they say multiple times in the film, it won't let us leave.
Yeah,
they're not going to win. You're not going to win. Ash has never won. Maybe in the TV show, but in the movies, he doesn't ever really win. You can't really stop it completely ever. So that's kind of the Evil Dead lore. Can't be stopped.
Yeah.
Well, either way, I mean, that's the biggest issue I have is how it's just not really, they don't really set up the rules there. I mean, you say one thing and it does another, but I can live with that. That's fine. When I really do start loving this movie, though, is when Cheryl is drawn to the woods and we get that scene with the trees, because
that's some great work.
It's a great work and it's fucking creepy, man. Like, I think it's some of the best work in this movie, to be honest. And it's one of the best scenes for me.
If you're
thinking of what little went into it as far as effects work,
right?
And the fact that they really just had to piece this together with
cut limbs and
limbs and shit that they put together, and some reverse and some stop
string
motion
work,
and some string work and some reverse. Like, that whole thing must have taken a really long time to put together.
I mean, I remember. In Evil Dead 2, when we have a wood scene, but it's not as graphic as this one.
Right.
That happened, dude. That kind of did for me for a little while. I mean, I grew up here in the backwoods of Southeast Texas, so you're wandering through the woods all the time. But after you watch that, it almost does for you like Jaws did for going swimming.
Yeah.
You walk into the woods and you see a branch move, you go like, oh shit. You know what I mean? And I didn't scare very easily, but I mean, things freaked me out. But I mean, you would get that feeling like you're walking through the woods and it's quiet. And then you hear just like a branch crack or something like that. You're like, I'm about to get raped by a tree.
I mean, it's rough and it's brutal and it's well put together.
I mean, they pushed the boundaries right there with that scene.
Yep.
One thing I wanted to ask you guys to see if they don't ever make it clear that Cheryl is Ash's sister in this movie, right?
No, not till the end. Yeah, when she busts her hands through the cellar door and holding on to him, she's like, says something about, but I'm your sister. She says that.
Man, I missed that. Like I watched it twice and didn't catch it. And I just looked at Wikipedia and it says Cheryl Williams here. I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess she is. But I put that together, but I just felt it was weird that it's never really mentioned or established from the get-go.
She's only listed as Cheryl on IMDb.
Yeah. Almost everything. I mean, you got Cheryl, Shelley.
And she's really the one calling him Ashley the whole time. I don't think anybody else really calls him Ashley.
Being that she's his sister, that would probably be why. But I mean, that whole scene right there, I mean, like you were talking about how they worked with it. I mean, with all the vine work going up her legs, but that one where the tree branch actually gets penetration, that's like,
I mean, that looks like it hurt. Like,
yeah, I mean, I saw Evil Dead 2 and they didn't go that far. And then when you go back and you watch this one, you're like,
no,
holy
it is
shit.
Yeah, it's jaw dropping and it is brutal.
It isn't just go up your leg and insert. No, it's like
I would imagine there. I would imagine that's a reverse shot. It doesn't look like it is, but I would imagine it is.
Dude, but it's weird. I mean, yeah, she's being raped by Mother Nature is fucking her right now, pretty much with the tree. But the thing is, weird how she kind of enjoys it for a second, and that's disturbing.
No.
She starts to fucking moan, and that makes it more weird to me. I'm like, this is wrong.
This is where we needed Jenny on the episode.
No, it's just wrong.
No.
Dude,
you're right.
I fast forward. I'm like, okay,
Jason,
fuck this.
You're right.
Nope.
Listen, you're right. There is a moan there that is really uncomfortable, and
yes.
and I wouldn't classify it as
it wasn't a
pleasure. It's like an overwhelming experience that she's having that is that is really unsettling. Like, not pleasure by any stretch, but
the fact that they pushed it to the point of
I
was like,
I'm just saying, like, it's really rough. Like
Jason was really fucking offended by this. I've never seen Jason so offended by a shot in a movie before.
Dude, well, it's
no, it feels really rough.
Hey, rape's never good, even if it's fake with a tree.
No. I can't. I can watch people get killed all day long.
Oh yeah,
rape scenes
ripped apart. Yeah, rape scenes.
I can't watch that shit. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's a little disturbing. But like I said, it gets a little I mean, the one I watched was NC-17. I don't know what the one y'all watched was, if it was R or whatever. Mine's 17.
Mine was unrated, so I mean, I imagine
you're not describing anything that I don't recall. I mean,
that would probably be the scene that gave it the NC-17.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But that was wow. I was like, I mean, I've seen it many times before, but as a kid, but even watching it I watched it earlier today, and you're just like, okay, yeah,
it's rough. I mean, if talking about all of us being well versed in horror, especially me.
For everybody listening, please check out our previous episode.
Check out the Reanimator episode for that discussion.
Yeah,
we've all seen a lot of shit. A scene like that can make us all
it's rough,
super uncomfortable in our seats and waiting for it to be over. I'm like, and that's the other thing about that scene is it goes on longer than you expect it to. Like, is this going to end? Can this end, please?
Yeah, it's going on for quite a while. You're just like, all right. I mean. But I give it to Sam Raimi for going. I mean, he's obviously trying to offend and scare you to not going in the woods at night. I mean, she made the normal movie mistake. I heard something outside. Let's walk outside.
She went way out there in the woods.
Yeah, she's like half a block down the road in the woods or something like that. I'm just like,
I mean,
wow.
Even if there's not an evil out there, you don't want to be going out the woods at night. You'll get lost. Get a mountain lion attack you or something.
Guy in a hockey mask. Never know.
Well, one scene I want to talk about a little bit here. I don't remember if this is before she goes out or once they get her back in, but it's the whole. No, it's when they get her back in, they get her in bed, and everybody's checking on her. But it's the scene where Ash gives Linda the necklace.
Okay, let me see if you have the same one.
This scene's fucking hilarious. Jenny and I were watching this scene, and Jenny did watch the movie. Unfortunately, she just couldn't be on the show with us tonight. But we're watching this scene, and it goes on for so long. And it's Ash playing coy on the couch. He's got his eyes closed, but he got the box on his knee. And she comes in, and she's looking at it. And it goes back and forth on shots of their closed eyes so many times. And it's got Ash opening his eyes, and then it all culminates with I gotcha. Like that scene's so fucking funny, but I feel like you could just cut it out of the movie and it wouldn't matter. But
that's what I had in my notes. Is like this scene was way too long. It could have not been in the movie.
I mean, that's just it's a little indulgent, but I like it. It's fun. I like their little eye, like the shots close up of their eyes, peeking at each other, taking a little peek, hiding. It's a fun and it gives you like a little bit of Ash and some character for Ash. Like he's a sweet guy, it's a sweet way to give her a gift, and he's kind of a romantic, and
it's foreshadowing, Eric, for the second movie. For the comedy in the second movie. Like it kind of plays the same way as some shit in the second movie would play a little bit.
The only thing I get out of it is the fact that makeup should have done something with Bruce Campbell's unibrow. Dude, I mean, it's bushy as hell right through here, man. I'm like, could you get the zoom in? I'm like, come on, guys, y'all could have done. You could have made our man look good. You got a close up. Come on, do some plucking, shaving, something, man.
Honestly, I felt like this necklace was pretty pointless too. I mean, it serves a purpose later, and we're gonna get to that. But this necklace is just
more. I feel like it's used to better effect in the second film, because she's wearing it when she comes back to life, right? And it scares the shit out of him or makes him hesitate or something. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen Evil Dead 2 also. But yeah, I mean, there's some ideas here that don't totally work and they don't totally fit thematically always. But
all right. Well, this is a good time to get to some cast members.
Almost famous.
I know that, dude.
I don't know them. I know her.
Haven't you ever heard of that guy? That guy who was in that movie that was out last year?
I'm sort of famous for being almost famous.
All right. Almost Famous is the segment of our show where we recognize character actors in the background of roles in movies that we watch here on the show. And unfortunately, if you're a new listener, this is not going to be a very big Almost Famous section.
This is your first show. It's going to be a letdown.
The only person I could manage to put in this position is Bruce Campbell.
Nope, I got
no.
one.
Too famous. See, I'm not going to do that to my boy.
I got another one.
All right, go.
I got Ted Raimi.
I've got Ted Raimi
because he's in the movie.
You can't identify Ted Raimi in this movie. It don't matter.
Though. He's listed as part of the cast. Ted Raimi.
How about Betsy Baker?
What else has she been in?
She did like three.
She
movies,
was Linda. Shush. Hold on. She was in Sharp Objects on HBO in 2018. Okay. She was in Hand of God 2017. Did you guys notice they were all in Oz the Great and Powerful?
Yeah, they were pretty much all back.
He brought them all back, which is fun. I didn't know that. But she's still got, she's actually shit. I'm curious. I mentioned Evil Dead, the game they're working on. It's coming out next year. She's in that. She's the only one returning member other than Bruce that's in that, actually. So that's cool.
This is another part I wanted to highlight Evil Dead the musical a little bit, is because the production has been all over the United States in certain times, but it most recently was adapted in Pensacola, Florida, where our good buddy Nathan from the Silver Linings Playlist is currently living, and his girlfriend Fiamma played a part in Evil Dead the musical in the production in Pensacola. Rad. But for that particular show, on closing, the three actresses from this movie came and did bit parts in the play.
Oh, hell
That's
yeah.
really cool.
Yep, they came in and just sort of got in there and got on stage with everybody, and they said it was a really fun time. And it's funny, like just doing research and going through and looking for all this stuff, I came across Nathan's girlfriend's name on Wikipedia. It was really weird. I had to call Nathan and be like,
he didn't even tell you that? You just found it on your own?
Well, I knew that there was a production in Pensacola, and I think he was we were trying to go to it, but I think it happened around the time the hurricane hit our hometown. And it just kind of threw a wrench in all of that. But I was not aware that his girlfriend was in it, and I called him as soon as I saw it. I was like, dude, I didn't know Fiamma was in Evil Dead the Musical. And he was like, yeah. And she plays a character that was actually gender swapped. She plays a male part in it. So I thought that was pretty cool too.
That's cool. Well, so what are we gonna say? I mean, really,
Betsy Baker.
I'm not going with Betsy Baker, dude. There's other people that were in the same amount of shit and nobody knows. You cannot go in that movie and pick her out in any other movie.
Okay.
You guys can fight about scraping the bottom
I'm not
of the
fighting.
You can scrape the bottom of the internet for people's movies all you want to. I'm still going Bruce Campbell because he's the only person in this movie that you would recognize.
Too famous. Ted Raimi is at least recognizable outside of this movie.
If he were recognizable in this fucking movie, I would go there.
This is a tough one because I mean, this is not the type of film that has people
like I said, like if you were listening, this is your first show. We apologize for this section of the show.
Yeah, this segment doesn't work great for this.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it is one of our segments, so we got to play around with it a little bit.
Betsy Baker,
Bruce Campbell,
Ted Raimi.
So we
just agree to disagree?
Let's just yell the cast at each other.
Fuck you! Thank you, Kevin Megan. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, Betsy Baker. Because what's her name? The girl that plays Cheryl, Ellen Sandweiss. She was in Evil Dead 2013. She was also in Oz. I think she shows up in Ash versus Evil Dead. So you want to start throwing stuff? She would be about the same. It's Betsy Baker.
I would say I felt like she looked familiar when I was watching this movie, but I didn't really. I wouldn't have recognized her in any of those movies you just mentioned. I did think that she was related to Sam Raimi though, because I feel like she kind of looks like Sam Raimi and Ted Raimi. Did you guys feel that way? Like think she may have been related to Sam Raimi?
No. I didn't check into her background on that. So.
And another fun fact: Sam Raimi is one of the fishermen at the beginning of the movie.
I wondered that when they were waving. It was like that feels like a cameo.
It's actually Sam Raimi and the producer Roger Tapert.
Ellen Sandweiss went to high school with Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell.
That's
the girl who
that explains it. Yep.
Cheryl.
Not related, but they're
not related,
friends.
but they look alike because they went to high school together. Because as you know, people that go to high school together look similar.
Yeah, they all look the same.
As we all know.
All right, so we're agreeing to disagree on our almost famous segment this evening. I mean,
you got 5 people in the cast, pretty much.
Yeah.
So,
and I kind of agree with Eric on the part of I think Bruce Campbell's too famous. I mean, the man's been in Spider-Man movies front and center for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes per show. So
he's not front and center in a Spider-Man movie. He is
yes, he is. He has the whole thing where he proposes. He's also the guy when he at the maitre d'.
Bubba Hotep, hello.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in the Spider-Man movies, he's there with
Hotep is a popular fucking movie. Let me tell you.
Bubba Hotep. You had to bring up that.
I'm anxious to rewatch that one, to be honest with you, but
Bruce Campbell has headlined multiple films and TV shows. He's
Maniac Cop, dude. He was great, Maniac Cop.
Fuck you!
And that's all I got to say.
How many times you see Maniac Cop, Josh?
I've seen Maniac Cop 2 more than Maniac Cop, to be honest.
Okay, well, I think his character dies at the beginning of Maniac Cop 2.
Mm-hmm.
So. Okay.
Well, it's fun. Since we're still talking about Bruce Campbell, my next note that I wrote down is Ash is a big pussy in this movie.
Certainly different from the Ash we get to know in the other movies.
And the main reason I write that is because when all of this shit is going down with Cheryl, or I'm sorry, not Cheryl, Shelley, Scotty's girlfriend, and he has that axe. And he's just standing there holding the axe the entire time. Like, again, this is something that contributes to the fact that I don't think that Ash was supposed to be the main person in this movie, because Scott does all the work here and takes the axe from Ash and chops up Shelley. But
Scott is all too comfortable killing the girls they brought out to the woods.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Ash does not want to hurt the girls. He's still a sweet guy in this movie. He's of the mind that he wants to save them. He doesn't want to kill them.
Right.
You know, it's not unlike when somebody gets bit in a zombie movie and, you have a hard time killing them. You know, it's too late, but when you care about somebody. So Ash is really played as like a sweet guy in this movie, and he's pushed to the brink. But we really get the hard ass, like badass Ash in the other films.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, toward the end of Evil
He's
Dead
not
2
like
and
that
then Army of
in this.
Darkness.
Yeah, he's not like that in this movie.
But all right, so what did you guys think about our first possession here with Cheryl when she turns around?
Deadites.
Yeah, Eric wanted to talk about Deadites, so go for it, bud.
Deadites are cool.
Deadites are awesome.
I love Deadites. You want to talk about original ideas, or at least, you know, like iconic things from this movie? The cabin, right? And another thing is the Deadites, the idea of the Deadites. You know, we've had demons, you know, this kind of stuff, but I love that how they tease, they laugh, they play mind games, they play possum all the time. Like that's such a thing.
God, all the time.
They're always playing possum, right? Like that through all the movies. They're always like, is it dead? No, it's not. I love the way that they look. They're just like over the top, like rotting, like quickly, bloated. You know, they're just so disgusting looking.
My favorite thing about the Deadites is the makeup and the fucking contacts that they're wearing. Those all white contacts that the girls have to wear.
With like the veins in them.
Yeah.
They were complaining like you could only leave those contacts in for like a small amount of time because they were so super thick that the eye couldn't even breathe.
Yeah, they were basically like some thickness of millimeter glass that covered the like half of the eye. And yeah, they could only leave them in for 15 minutes at a time. And the girls had such a hard time with those. Not even so much here with Cheryl when she changes, but I love when Linda finally becomes a Deadite and she's sitting there, Indian cross-leg style in the hallway, just laughing. And
what a shot.
Yeah. Like that's one of my favorites. She's probably my favorite Deadite in the movie for sure.
First of all, she looks like an 8-year-old girl that played in mommy's makeup. Like
Okay.
you look really quick with the mascara and stuff like that. Yeah, it looks like a kid. And the way she laughs, I swear to God, that Sherry Moon Zombie laughing.
I thought the same thing. I was like, wow, I see where Sherry Moon Zombie got her laugh from now.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Deadites and I like how they mess with your head.
Mhm.
You know, like when they turn back to normal.
Right.
And, you know, like make you feel for that person again and then attack you again, make you go crazy. I mean, more than just, I feel like Raimi like invented like a legitimate new quote unquote new monster in the Deadite. It's kind of like a zombie, but it's, you know, you have to dismember it. It has like a special way you have to kill it. You know, it's kind of like Universal monsters and things like that, where, you know, traditional methods won't work.
But you like it's zombie, but it's possessed,
and it's smart, and it's and it can like change and trick you, and it can 1 minute it can look like the girl that you loved, and next minute it's trying to eat you, and you know
they have superhuman strength. They could throw people all the way across a room.
Yeah, and it's just something about the Deadite, and it's lasted, right? I mean, they've made multiple films, TV series, you know, spin-off movie or reboot or whatever you want to call it. I mean, like the Deadite is a really cool idea, and I like Deadites.
Yeah, I mean, I love all those aspects of the Deadite. I will say I feel like the cackling and the laughing really gets to too high for me. Like at a certain point, I'm like, okay, we can stop with this shit now. But that also is just like the effectiveness of it. Like the point of these things is to drive you insane with all of this shit they're doing.
Right.
So
that's kind of the
works.
point. It does get annoying, but yeah, that's kind of the idea. I mean, and they lean even more into it in the second Evil Dead, where they're really fucking with him for a while in the, you know, and really he starts to lose it. You get that kind of short sequence in this movie where, yeah, he's done some things. He's starting to kind of go kooky. He's looking in the mirror, that kind of stuff. But they really go further in it.
There's a good portion of Evil Dead 2 where it feels like Ash is having a extended bad acid trip for a little while.
Right.
Whereas, you know, here it's really just kind of everything's taking him by surprise.
Just another thing on the Deadites, the slimy gooiness, all the blood, all the, like, they have like a milky liquid coming out of them. Sometimes they have
2%
like
milk.
slime coming in them. Is that what it was?
It was.
They're dirty.
You get some oatmeal.
Yeah, you get the oatmeal squirting out of the sleeve. It's like everything's dirty too. Like this movie makes me think of Texas Chainsaw a little bit. Just in the overall look, they're outside. It's dirty. Everything's grimy and gritty and dirty, and it has that homemade feel that makes it extra creepy to me. That kind of like low budget feel.
I'm glad you brought that up because it brings me to a continuity. Ding, 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 continuity error that drives me nuts in this movie. And I love and respect all the blood and gore that happens in this movie, but God damn it, please leave it on Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
After you put it there, because there's a specific point where I think it's Shelley's head gets cut off and blood squirts all over his face, and it literally cuts to the next shot, and he has no blood on him, like hardly at all. And to be fair, I think Sam Raimi played into that jokingly a lot because he does it again in Evil Dead 2. I'm sure something of that nature happens in Army of Darkness, so he kind of plays into it. But there's that, and there's also when the pipe bursts in the cellar.
Right.
It rains blood down on him, and then the next shot, he's fine.
Well, that's another thing where they crank it up in two. In this one, you have the pipe burst, you have the light bulb, the blood in the light bulb. The projector down.
I love that shot. I love that shot.
Yeah, and the outlets, like blood coming through the outlets. Yeah, and they really like crank it up, and so you see like beginnings of ideas here, and then in the second one, he's like, "Oh, well, let's have blood shoot out of the shotgun holes in the walls."
Yeah.
And it's like gallons and hundreds and hundreds
it's
of
like a fire hose of blood. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it sucks it all back in. That's what I liked about it. The one scene that got me is when Scotty pulls out a knife and he tries to cut her hand off, and he does it, and then she grabs her own hand and starts chewing through the wrist.
Yep.
And I'm like, whoa, I totally forgot about this part. This is really cool. I mean, it's gooey and bloody and stuff oozing out. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's like the Deadites just being completely unpredictable. Like that's how crazy they are. Like, oh, you wanted to cut my hand off? Here, I'll help. I'll bite my own hand off.
Yeah.
Because who cares? I'm crazy and you're all going to die anyway.
And he shows the dagger in her back and you think she's dying. And that's like he was talking about the gooiness. I mean, we get blood, but then you get this pus stuff pouring out. Where it looks like pus, which is, I don't know if it's the milk or just gooiness. I mean, it's just not blood. Like most movies back to that point, it was just, you got red blood. Here we get this black blood, red blood, pus, milk, oatmeal. Whatever the fuck, eat your breakfast in the morning, kids. It's nasty and it's great. I'm eating it up. I want some more oatmeal.
I like also, certain degrees of violence, like when their hands are reaching in and they're like smashing their hands with the butt of the shotgun, like,
oh yeah,
and it's a fake hand or whatever, or when they're hitting when the girls are attacking them and they're hitting them and the camera's from behind the girl. It's clearly like a dummy because they're really hitting it.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's like a dummy body and they're really like hitting. Right.
That's like that's one of my favorite parts of this whole scene is when Scott takes the axe from Ash and goes to get Shelley and he hits her and the dummy just goes and straight to the floor. It looks
I mean that like visual is such a Raimi thing too. That goes through like so many Raimi's films. I think even into like Drag Me to Hell and stuff like that. There's like just weird like fast movement that's kind of unnatural. Things getting like flattened real quick. It's almost like his personal, like he's got like this personal aesthetic that just feels like kind of unnatural with some of the speed of things and how things react to being hit, how things react to other stimuli and that kind of stuff, sound and camera movement and stuff.
I really like when we pull out of the shot when Scott is hacking her to pieces and then we pull out and we see her body scattered across the floor. Like it kind of goes into what you were just saying. Like it doesn't look like it would look in a normal movie. Like the way her body is scattered on the ground looks really weird. And I think that's just part of the aesthetic that makes this movie, awesome.
The one thing I wanted to touch on about that, we were talking about great scenes in this movie, is I love the camera lens shot with the blood on it, and you can still see them behind
Yeah, with
Scotty chopping her up.
Yeah,
I love that they left that in him, and it's obviously
Right.
blood's on the lens of the camera, and they're still shooting.
Yeah.
I love that shot.
Yeah, that makes you feel like you're there. That's part of like that, kind of like the Texas Chainsaw, where it feels so handheld at times and stuff, where it does kind of pull you into the room a little bit,
Yeah.
And this is where Scotty becomes an ass, because now he just chopped up his girl, and he's like, I'm gonna check on Linda, and Scotty's like, I'm fucking out of here. I'm leaving. I don't care about your girl.
She got the pencil in the ankle, dude. That's a great effect.
Oh, dude, yeah, that one. And I mean, not only did they just, in movies nowadays, they just stab. That's it. No, they put it in there and worked it into the bone and intended for like a good 30 seconds. And you're like, yeah, that's what I like to see.
There's some effects that work really well in this. Not all of them work great, but some of them are excellent.
And it may not look great, but I really like the shot when Ash goes to check on her and looks at her ankle, and it's that stop motion of just the drawing on her ankle getting bigger and bigger. Like you can tell someone drew that on her with makeup and stuff, but I like the way it looks in this. It fits the movie great. Like
there's a few stop motion things, like when we get to the end of the movie with the decaying and the oozing. That's great. Excellent. 1981. That's better than Jason and the Argonauts, back in the 60s and 70s. This looks great.
Yeah.
I mean, if we look at it today, if you've never seen these types of movies like that, you'd look at like, oh, that's fucking horrible. They should have done CGI there. Oh no, that's Sam Raimi, and that Tom Sullivan guy did a great job.
With Linda here, Ash is at this point where he's ready to go take her out and cut her up into pieces and dismember her, like the book says. At this point, like, he seems very conflicted. Yeah, you make the point that he's supposed to be the good guy here, where Scott is obviously a giant dick, and he still can't go through with it. Still, like, this kind of goes back to our Dog Soldiers episode, where it's like, you've seen everything that's going on here and you still don't believe what's going on. Like, it's about time where you just, suck it up, start the chainsaw and cut her ass up, because
I mean, it's hard to say how someone would react in that scenario, but another thing, again, going to this after seeing the follow-up films, like, to think that he's going to go in that shed and get a chainsaw and not use it for the rest of the movie. It's just like, holy shit, dude. Like, no wonder he goes, you know what? I had that chainsaw in the shed, that first movie, and we never used it. And I want to use it, God damn it. Next movie, we're going to use that shit.
Not just the chainsaw, the machete, anything they established in the fucking murder pantry when they opened up this movie. Yeah. They don't use any of it except a shovel. Just a fucking shovel.
Shovel's pretty effective, though.
It is.
Chainsaws in horror movies are the best starting chainsaws ever. I mean, I know guys that work in the woods who would love to have every single one of these chainsaws.
Yeah, this chainsaw was clearly sitting in the shed for a while.
Dude, I was trying to start the one we have here the other day to go cut up a tree limb, and it took me a good 15 minutes to get it choked and get it going because it's been sitting around. So I'm watching this and I'm like, fuck you, chainsaw.
Old stale fuel in there, sitting in there for a while.
Yeah, that nice 2-cycle mixture stuff. Oh, yeah, fuck that. Yeah. And I'm like, I wish my chainsaws would start like that. But
hey, another great shot and a great effect shot, but also just a great film shot is the girl rising from the grave.
Oh, when he reaches down to grab the necklace?
Yeah. And like her coming up out of the ground like that. Oh, actually, this whole sequence off kind of on the hill where you look down from the hill at the. I love the way the cabin looks at night. I love how it's lit. You got that big moon behind it. When they're shooting around the cabin at night, particularly from the outside where you see the lights inside, they do a lot of fun stuff with lighting through the windows.
Oh yeah.
When they open the door and there's like the big spotlight behind them.
That was a shot I wanted to bring up when they're going to, when Ash is going to take Cheryl away and it shows the three people on the porch with the light behind them. That's an awesome shot. I love that one.
I mean, that's stuff that these shots are really interesting compositions, and they're very theatrical and very stylistic, really stylistic.
For sure.
You can really see his style and an effort being made to go beyond like a standard shot and really make an interesting shot, and on such a shoestring budget. It just makes me want to watch a bunch of Sam Raimi stuff now, honestly.
We're canceling the rest of the month. It's all Sam Raimi movies.
Well, I'm glad you bring that scene up because I also wanted to say, like, I think some of the jump scares in this movie are quite effective. The first one being when Cheryl punches through the floor and grabs Ash the first time.
Yeah.
Even watching it now, it caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting it. And then there's the one where I don't remember who it is, but it punches through the door and gets Ash.
Still Cheryl. That's still Cheryl.
And then in the gravesite when he buries Linda and then he's reaching down to pick up the necklace and her hand comes out. That got me too. Like there's some good jump scares here. Well, this gives us a chance to get to the next segment.
You're going to need a bigger quote.
All right. If you're a new listener, and this is where we highlight some of our favorite quotes from the movie, big or small. But first, Jason's going to give us the taglines for the movie.
Taglines for this movie. Let's say 1981. Hey, none of them are paragraphs, people. No paragraphs.
Great.
The first I got is they got up on the wrong side of the grave.
Hate it. Carry on. That's a turd.
Scream as your nightmares come true.
Jeez, dude.
All right. Can they be stopped? Question mark.
Terrible.
No, we're not shooting for good here. Like, ugh.
Who are the ad wizards that came up with this?
Exactly. Hey, just I didn't write these or come up with these. I mean, whoever Sam Raimi
We know,
paid to
Jason.
do this, these are
We're
horrible.
not blaming you for the. Don't.
No.
Don't feel
You're
bad.
blaming me. You're blaming me.
I
feel like
blaming
you're blaming
Jason.
me. I feel like you're blaming me. You're like, could you find a better tagline? And the final one, I think this is the better one, but still not that great. Ultimate experience in grueling terror.
That's the best one.
That's the best one.
That's
They
the
all
best
suck. They all suck.
Yeah, you
I
could
think,
have done better.
I think we should add to the tagline segment and let Jason make up his own tagline for the movie and see if it's any better than these.
Ooh, I could probably do that.
That'd be fun.
That'd be fun.
All right. Well, those were the taglines. Let's get to some quotes here. I kind of struggled a little bit on this one too, but I managed to come up with a handful. So, Eric, it's your movie. You want to start?
Sure. I like when they're unloading the car and he's going, hey, and then they're throwing the thing, and hey, and then she hits him in the crotch with a bag and he's like, oh. And the reason, not that it's a great quote, but I like that it's a little bit of levity and you get a little peek of playful Ash.
Yeah.
You know, it almost feels like just Bruce Campbell being Bruce Campbell, and I like it.
You get hints of it throughout the movie. It's just definitely not as prominent as it is moving forward after this. Jason, which one of yours?
Oh, let's see. Yeah, like you just said, dude, this is hard. I mean, if this was even into an Army of Darkness, we'd have a 45-minute quote section. So easily. But I got the one where Cheryl, they're trying to leave, said, hey, it's not going to start. It's not going to let us leave.
Yeah, I had
trying to get the car
it's not
started.
going to let us leave. Yeah.
What do you got, Josh?
First one I had was when they're driving on the road and they see the fisherman and Scotty goes, go to hell. I'm not honking at you.
I've got one here. It's when Linda thinks that she's guessing the cards.
Oh.
And Ash goes, yeah, truly amazing, Linda.
That sounds like a Bruce Campbell thing.
This is Linda talking. Killer if you can, lover boy.
I had that one written down too.
Yeah.
When Cheryl gets back after the trees attack her, she says, but the trees, Ash, they know.
They know a lot about Cheryl now that we don't need to talk about. So
another thing that shows how douchey Scott is when they're in the cellar and they find the dagger and they're looking at it and he looks at Ash and he goes, kind of looks like your old girlfriend, and they both go and chuckle. It's fucking stupid, but it's so funny.
I got it where they keep going. We're gonna get you. We're gonna get you. They keep saying it like sublimating.
We haven't had Dead by Dawn yet.
No, that's part 2.
I asked Jenny, I was like, we were watching it and it was over. I said, they didn't say Dead by Dawn in this. Or no, it wasn't that one. It was I'll Swallow Your Soul.
I swallow your soul. I swallow your soul.
Yeah. So, but the thing that said the most throughout this entire movie is join us.
Join us, or we're gonna get you, right? We're
I
gonna
wonder
get
if he's
you.
the guy who
and
did
they're
that. I wonder who they paid to just do that in the, post production.
I think Sam Raimi did all the evil voice stuff. But we were talking. Do you have any more, Jason?
No, I mean, like I said, it was definitely a struggle. I watched the movie. I write my quotes down. I even went back and looked up quotes from Evil Dead, and there was like nothing.
Yeah.
But like you said, you hit part 2 in Army of Darkness. It's lists.
We get to the next 2. We're gonna have piles of quotes to go off of. So.
Stuff that I say all the damn time.
Yeah,
because we all do if you love those movies.
But we've hinted on him burying Linda and whatnot, and this is where it really starts to get into the territory of where Evil Dead 2 goes, because when he picks up the piece of wood, and starts bashing her over the head with it, this looks like some shit you're going to end up seeing in Evil Dead 2. Like, this is where it starts to get a little slapsticky.
Yeah. Oh. Well, there's a couple other spots too, like even earlier in the movie when they threw Cheryl in the cellar and they're kicking her in her head, and you could tell it's a dummy head and it's all bouncing back and forth like this. Yay. Yeah, that was my first hint of like slapstick, was when they were doing that with her. But
and anytime Ash is thrown into a bookshelf or something,
bookshelf,
pretty goofy.
Every fucking bookshelf there is. Like every time we see Ash getting thrown into something, it's another bookshelf.
Cheryl has now got out of the cellar. Now after all this time, she is now busted out of the cellar because Linda's got up and he goes back to the cabin running from.
There's another really cool shot that I wanted to point out, and it's after we put Cheryl in the basement and she's looking. There's that POV shot of her looking through the cellar, the crack in the cellar door, and it's just panning left to
it's
right.
when he's dragging the body out, and you see her just sitting there watching.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't see her; you just get her point of view, and it's looking out onto the floor, and that's another really cool shot. It just pans.
Yeah, creative idea.
Now, I kind of like what you're saying. It's the same thing, but it's from the exterior of them dragging the body. It really looks like they're just dragging the camera across the floor, as I forgot who's pulling the body, and then you see Cheryl like this out of the hole, and then it stops on her. I was like, whoa, that's so cool. I mean, like,
that's like the shot of the film where you see her under the door peeking out. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's lots of creative shots, creative camera uses, and things like that. Another great effect here is when he's fighting Scott. Scott's come back as a deadite, and he pokes his eyes out.
Yeah,
a good eye poke.
Mm-hmm.
That right it. Oh yeah, all the like you said, gooey. It's the
gooey. Yeah, super gooey.
Can someone explain the pipe full of blood in the cellar though?
Okay, I can right here.
Okay, give it to me.
Well, everything in the house is like this, and they said it was somebody else's house. Well, the pipes have been stuck there. Obviously, somebody that had the house died from a bleeding ulcer, or they have a bladder infection, and the pipes are full of bloody urine and bloody stool. Dude, and that's why the cabin's available. They died from bleeding internally and shitting it out.
This is a full-on evil force haunting the woods and making the trees come to life. It can fill pipes with blood.
Yeah,
it's no problem. The walls are full of blood. In the second one, walls shoot blood out, like more blood than can ever fit in the walls. I don't know why you're questioning something like this.
I'm still going that whoever had it had bloody stool.
I like Jason's theory.
Jason Bloody Stool Owens, they call him. So
he had a bad case of hemorrhoids. They bled. It happened.
An anal fissure.
An anal fissure. Yes.
Dealing with an anal fissure. So Ash in this one, the solution he believes at the point is to burn the book, and he wants to throw the book in the fire.
Well, it's a good assumption that he makes, considering that the book gets near the fire and they look like they're smoking. I would probably think the same thing as him, but this is where the ridiculousness of this fucking necklace comes into play.
Yeah. The necklace lasso is a problem. It's just
I do like when he reaches down to grab it though, and the chain is like in the shape of a skull. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah.
The chain of the necklace.
Yeah, that's a fun detail. But like, this is the payoff of the necklace, is that it's going to work. It shouldn't have been a magnifying glass, and make it like a hook, right?
Yeah, right.
Make it a hook shape or something that would actually work as a lasso.
Well, we've talked a lot about how Ash is kind of the secondary guy here who ends up having to become the hero in the end, and honestly, I really do like that we have to watch Ash kind of grow into a hero by the end of this movie. It seems a little more natural to me that he would be scared to death at first and then have to come to terms with what he's dealing with. So all in all, it's good fun to poke fun at Bruce Campbell in the part right here, but I think it fits this movie really well.
Again, we're watching this movie having already watched
right
Ash become the hero, become the wisecracking, ladies man hero, and to watch him be the
held to the king, baby.
Yeah, to watch him be this like meek, quiet, sweet guy in this movie, we can't help but I think it's just reinforcing that of like he's being a pussy, but he's reacting like probably we would react in the same situation. We're a few sweet guys, and we wouldn't want to kill our significant others.
Yeah, we're a bunch of big pussies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge pussy, so I
don't know.
It's gonna be my intro audio.
Yeah,
going forward, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're possessed. They're dead.
But then see, that's the thing about the Deadites. You go, oh, they're possessed, they're dead, but then they go, Ash, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then he's questioning his own sanity. Yep. He's going, am I crazy? And you could, I would actually be curious to watch a remake of this movie where it is Ash losing his mind and all these things are in his mind and he just kills everybody. Wouldn't that be an interesting take?
That's a cool concept.
Yeah, there aren't Deadites. He is going crazy.
I mean, this movie is known for making top 10 lists for gruesome parts, which is the tree rape scene and stuff like that. But I remember as a kid growing up when they would do the top 20 scary movies of all time. There's one shot in this movie that is always in every single one of those lists. And that's when he shuts the door and he turns around with the blood on his face and with the shadow. And he's got this stare looking away. Every time I see that, it's like that's all I see is all these countdown lists.
Well, they go back to that. They go back to that shot in Evil Dead 2. I mean, they rehash a lot of these same shots in that movie too.
But that right there, when you see that with the blood on his face, his hair is kind of wet. He looks like Ash from part 2, there.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
Is when it starts. You're like, oh, okay. Now we get Mr. Ash here.
You start to see a lot of what comes in part 2 here. Cause like even when Cheryl or Linda, whoever it is outside of the door at this point is trying to get in, he moves this desk in front of the door away from this giant big ass like bay window that they could easily just crash through.
It's not even the window's already broken at that point. I think.
Okay. All right. We kept talking about the weird things in this movie that's annoying. Okay, we got the evil lurking in the woods, mowing down trees and everything else like that. Why couldn't it just mow down the door at any time it wanted to go into the cabin?
I think it's toying with him. It does. I mean, it does blow doors open.
But I'm just saying, it lurks outside, walking around the house. Why would it just fucking just go in there and get them? You can knock down trees.
I know I made this similar argument in other movies, particularly Dog Soldiers, but I think the evil and the Deadites they know they're going to win and they really just are having fun. That's with all the maniacal laughter.
They're like children.
Yeah, they are toying with these people. They want to scare them. They don't want to just kill them. They want to scare them. They want to drive them mad. It's about more than just killing them. They want to drive them freaking crazy.
The other part I always had, and it happens in this and in part 2, is everybody talks about you're okay during the daytime, but you see the evil moving through the woods with the sun up.
Yeah.
Oh, well, especially in the second one.
Oh,
the whole scene of him getting possessed in the woods is during the day.
Yeah. You get evil Ash in broad daylight.
Yeah. Dude, I gotta watch 2 now.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it now too. I didn't want to do it before the show.
I'm gonna go watch part 2 and Army of Darkness. So.
Dude, I was having I think it was my birthday party in middle school. I don't know if it was 8th grade. That's when I got Army of Darkness based on the box art alone from the video store.
Oh yeah, that's cool. With him standing up.
Yeah, and it was like, I'm getting this movie. That
it looks like a romance novel cover.
Yeah, it has that, like Star Wars, play on the Star Wars thing. But and I watched it with my friends and we laughed our asses off and it was so great. But I mean, this movie, if you really do your best to separate the other films, it is legitimately scary. It's really not funny. Like it's not funny. Even knowing like what I'm, knowing I'm trying to not think of the funny bits from the other movies. Like, is there a sense of humor here? Yes, but this is an effectively scary movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And really creepy and unsettling. And a lot of the stuff that feels silly in it, I think, is influenced by what we've seen since.
Right. Yeah. And my note here was, any 8-year-old flipping through cable at 9 o'clock at night sees this movie. You can jump in at any point within this movie and start watching and watch a few scenes. It's going to creep you the fuck out. For a young person, I could see this movie. Well, at least, when I was young back in the 80s, who knows what kids these days would think, but
they watch Hostel, dude.
Right.
they're not disturbed.
But this was one that I may have caught a glimpse of this on cable when I was younger, but definitely didn't watch the whole thing because it would have creeped me out. Like, this is the kind of movie that as a child would have been like, nope, I don't want to watch that. And to be completely honest, not having grown up watching all of these movies, getting to them in my 20s, I honestly, I'm going to go ahead and drop my bomb here. I think I like this one better than part 2 or 3.
Damn.
I like that it doesn't go for straight comedy a lot of the times. I think it's a lot creepier. I've never really been a super fan of Army of Darkness because it gets so comedic and cheesy. Like, it's definitely my least favorite of the trilogy.
Army of Darkness is almost like an action film.
Yeah.
Or like a comedy action
it's not
adventure
really horror.
film.
It's an adventure film.
Yeah. I think for me, 2, and I have to rewatch it because it's been a few years, but I think 2 still stands up because I feel like Bruce Campbell is such a force in that film. And he's missing in this. Like, even though he's there, his like just that persona that he creates is such a big thing, particularly for, it's hard to separate the two almost.
If I want to watch something quote unquote scary or creepy, I'm watching this movie.
Yeah.
Sure. If I want to sit down with you guys or a group of friends and watch a fun horror movie, I'm putting on Evil Dead 2 because you're getting the best from this movie in that one with a lot of added bonus stuff that's going to be a great time.
I thought Josh was going to say Eddie Murphy's Haunted Mansion.
More fun than scary.
I would have said,
I'm going to watch a horror movie with my friends. It's going to be Eddie Murphy's Haunted Mansion.
One thing I wanted to ask you guys, do we think that Halloween 3 ripped this movie off?
I've never seen Halloween 3.
Well, this kind of leads into the stop motion stuff when the bodies start to decay at the end and you start to see this is when I think the oatmeal comes into play that Jason was talking about.
You got roaches, you got hands reaching out of the...
And that's what I'm talking about. I won't go into detail, but Jason will know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the bugs and the snakes and all of that stuff.
I don't think so. Because I think this is supposed to be ooey gooey, like supernatural stuff, like that. I mean, that what you're talking about is actual snakes, roaches, centipedes, bugs.
Well, you do get roaches though here.
Yeah. I mean, I can see where you're going with the similarities, but I really don't think one took from the other.
I just thought it was a very similar visual for me.
Yeah,
because there are bugs, there are snakes, there are all kinds of things there in Evil Dead, and then you see that also in Halloween 3.
Yeah, I just think they were going for something different, but I get what you're saying.
But we've been talking about Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. I did not watch any of that stuff in preparation for this. I wanted this to hold up on its own. However, I did rewatch the remake of Evil Dead, and I wanted to ask you guys how you feel about that movie, and then I'll get to my thoughts.
I love it. I like the remake. I think it's excellent.
I like the remake, and I was hoping they would carry on, and we have got nothing.
I was shocked watching the remake at how closely it really does follow this movie. The character names are different. The motivation for the characters are different, but it hits all the same beats as this movie and does it in a way where I think, I can only imagine Sam Raimi was happy when he saw that movie because it looks like a big budget version of what he was trying to accomplish with a little more story, maybe not as comedic. It has its comedic beats, but man, like when you talk about remaking a movie, and we've talked about this on our show before about,
many turds.
Yeah. Like there's so many things out there that could use updating. And I'm not saying that Evil Dead is a turd by any means, but yeah, I mean, it could use updating. as long as somebody wants to do it correctly.
No,
And
what
I
I'm
think-
saying is remakes are often turds.
Oh, yes. Well,
And this is an example of not a turd.
Oh, me and Josh kind of have the same thing with the Friday the 13th remake. People hate it. I thought they did a great job. That's another remake that I thought was good, but people fucking hate it.
yeah, they hold so close to the original subject material. They pay homage in a good way. They don't deter off from that stuff too much, and it brings those people that love these movies in with open arms. So I was really like I really like the remake for Evil Dead.
Dude,
and
the end of the remake, like the end where she's using the chainsaw, that shit is badass. When it's raining blood, like
when she's cutting through it. I mean, dude, you
Yeah.
talk about overboard blood.
yeah.
Dude,
I just-
and the part where she gets her, is it under the Jeep or something?
Yeah,
and
the
she
Jeep
just
flips.
pull, and you can see her pulling the tendons and
Dude,
everything
mhm.
as her pulls her arm. Dude,
They-
that's great.
Yeah, they captured the over the top without being cheesy. Like,
Yeah.
it's amazing how great they pulled that off. Like, that's one of the most successful like remakes or whatever you want to call it. That
And I
can
mean,
think of, truly.
even down to the characterization, and like what I love about the remake and the story they do there is you've got this framing device of her being addicted to something, drugs, whatever, you know, they don't really get into specifics about it. I think it's heroin, but it's a very good reason for the, you know, where here it's just like, oh, we're co-eds and we're going out to a cabin in the woods for,
Right. You're isolating her on purpose. It's an
Yeah, like-
intervention. yeah.
and you're giving them reason to not believe her, to want to leave because she wants to leave because she knows there's crazy shit going on. They think she wants to leave because she's a junkie and wants a fix.
Yeah.
And Jane Levy, the main actress in that, is really
She's
good as
great.
well. Yeah.
She's great in that movie. Now I won't say it doesn't have some cheesiness to it because it does. There's some parts in it that I don't think work very well, but same can go for these.
Like the one guy that just constantly gets hurt through the whole movie and keeps living.
Somehow doesn't die. Yeah.
Yeah.
That dude really.
They kind of liken him to the Scotty character, and the same thing really kind of happens to Scotty here. We don't see all of it like we do in the remake, but same kind of thing happens to Scotty. And
yeah, did y'all notice when he come in and sat on the couch, his bone is sticking out of his wrist?
Yeah,
It's just sticking up. And I'm like, and I love it when Ash is trying to give him a drink of water. He's dead.
And the sound design in the remake is so fucking good.
Oh, yeah.
The scene where they go into the bathroom and the girl's behind the curtain and you can hear her like cutting into her flesh to cut her face off.
Oh yeah.
It's so fucking good, dude. Like I can't.
The box cutter lick is awesome as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's like the main scene, the box cutter. Like,
So for an iconic horror movie like Evil Dead and a movie being remade in that sort of style and that nature, like I can't give the remake of Evil Dead any more high praise. Like if you want to see a good remake of an old beloved horror movie, Evil Dead the remake is by far one of the best.
I think it's really rewatchable as well. Like I've watched it. Like there's some horror movies that have come, and I think, you know, in the 2000s that I find really rewatchable. One of them is that Green Room.
Oh,
that's
Green
a good
Room's
movie.
So good.
That's a good movie.
And You're Next. I really like You're Next.
You're Next
as well.
With our friend Barbara Crampton.
Our friend Barbara Crampton gave us a shout out on Twitter. Barbara, I know you're listening. Probably not, but
we're not talking about her movie
That
tonight.
was awesome to get blessed by Barbara on Twitter. That was excellent. But yeah, I mean, so rewatchable. Really a good one.
Absolutely. All right. Well, as far as this movie goes, it's October. It's horror movies. So therefore,
Top Kills.
for our new listeners, I think Top Kill is a little self-explanatory. So, Eric, it's your movie. I'm going to let you throw your favorite kill out there first, buddy.
Well, I'm going to go with Scott getting his eyeballs poked out. Didn't really kill him, but I think it counts. There aren't many kills in this movie because a lot of things don't actually die. But as far as like a killing blow, I like the thumbs in the eyeballs, really gooey, gooey eye juice, blood stuff.
Yeah, that's where I kind of struggled a little bit. I was like, well, technically people don't die in this movie, but so yeah, I had a hard time too. But Jason, what was yours?
I'm gonna go with Scotty chopping up freaking Shelly.
That was mine too.
Dude, I mean, because axes cutting up bodies, blood flinging everywhere. Then the lens shot with him still there cutting her up. Yeah, that was because really and truly, is she the only one that really dies? I mean, Scotty does kind of die at the end, and Linda, I guess.
The main reason it's my top kill is for that initial axe hit when he hits that dummy and the dummy just falls straight down. I love it.
Collapses. Yeah, it's good stuff.
But I mean, not a whole lot to choose from here, but those are good ones.
Yeah, because I mean, the only time that was it Cheryl and Scotty die is when he burns the book and these big, huge hands come ripping them apart.
Yeah, that shit's pretty crazy. That shit's pretty good. What do you guys? How do you guys feel about the stop motion there? Do you think that stuff's cool?
I think it's great.
I
love it. It looks like so much happens there. Goo, slime, all these like weird like growths, like scabs are growing up, and then hands burst out, and oatmeal squirts out, and
you even got the Necronomicon is changing during all that.
Oh
too.
the face on it's all like
the tongue comes out. I mean, that shit is that's where they just go nuts, and they just go like crazy.
Well, that's why I mentioned his name. I mean, our special effects guy was Tom Sullivan. I mean, he did some pretty good work for what he had here.
Absolutely.
A low budget. I mean, he did Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and The Fly 2.
The Fly 2 has been one I've been thinking about trying to throw on the list, just because
I've seen it several times.
Well, I've never seen it, and I have it, but we're going to be talking The Fly here soon, so that's going to maybe
we can do a double up episode. We'll do a movie of the week for The Fly, and we can do The Fly 2 on the horror section.
That would cause Eric to have to watch more than one movie in a week, and you're just going to make his head explode.
Let's finish this bad boy up.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Why? All right, Eric, tell us what's good, what's bad, and what's ugly about Evil Dead.
What's good? What's good is the Deadites. The Deadites are good for all the reasons I've stated already. The bad is some of the out of focus shots that apparently had to make the cut, and they just didn't have anything better. And the ugly is Bruce Campbell's unibrow.
Any girl today seen that movie and they automatically grab tweezers. Like, God, just let me pluck those.
The first shot of the film, you're like, unibrow. It's like the first thing you see.
All right, Jason, what's yours?
My good. I love the way Sam Raimi shot a lot of this, the angles, the shooting style. I mean, we still get that in all of his movies today. Yep. I mean, he's, like you said, he kind of started with this. I mean, we get him in the Spider-Man movies, all that kind of stuff. Right. I love that we get Bruce Campbell. We were given Bruce Campbell right here, and we still have him today.
God bless him.
God bless Bruce Campbell. If you're into that, I mean, that guy is freaking awesome. My bad. Scotty's a dick. I'm glad he gets possessed and he dies. And and the acting of Scotty is pretty bad.
Yeah, he's not very good.
Didn't do a good job at all. And my ugly, really there's no ugly other than the tree rape. It's a little brutal, but it's brutal for sure. It's brutal.
All right, for me, good. It's genuinely creepy. The filmmaking is quite impressive, all things considered. I love the shot of blood coming out of the electrical sockets. That's probably one of my favorite shots of the whole film. Another cool camera transition too is there's a shot that shoots upwards and you can see the bottom of Ash's shoe. And when it like moves across the camera lens and it's a cut to another scene, I thought that was really cool too. So all that kind of stuff is my good. The bad, so much maniacal laughing that it really gets on my nerves. That's going to be the downside for me. And
no wonder you like this one more than 2, because
2 has even more laughing. Yeah. 2 is, whoa, it's out of there. And my ugly would be the inconsistencies in the makeup and the blood. Namely, every time Ash gets dumped on with blood and then the next shot he doesn't have blood on him at all. The continuity of the shots. Yep. So anything else you guys want to say about Evil Dead before we wrap it up?
If you've never seen this and you just heard us talk about it, go watch it on HBO Max, where you can sit down and watch it. It's a great movie.
I
Watch
believe,
all of them.
Yeah, I believe Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness are all available on HBO Max right now. So if you have HBO Max, go have a marathon. Great time.
Yeah, right now, them and I don't know about this movie, but Netflix, man, it's horror movie month. These the big streaming companies have got just horror movie sections right now that they're really pushing.
Yep.
So go check it all out. Get in all the spooky fun. So,
and in the vein of that, like I said at the beginning of the show, we're going to be doing horror movies the rest of the month of October. Our next movie of the week will be a pick of Jenny's. She will be gracing us with her presence for Poltergeist, Tobe Hooper classic, or Steven Spielberg classic, depending on who you ask.
Tobe Hooper class? We're doing Texas Chainsaw.
We will only talk about Tobe Hooper in name. We will not talk about any other movies. Jason, don't say a word.
Stephen Hooper?
Stephen Hooper.
Mr. Hooper?
Hooper.
Or Mr. Cooper.
Hanging with Mr. Hooper?
Yeah. Hanging in a shed by a hook with Mr. Hooper.
All right. Well, if you're new to our show, thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking with us throughout the entire runtime of the show. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at VHS Files Podcast, and also check out the VHS Files YouTube channel for bonus content. Please leave our podcast a like and a 5-star review on iTunes, and share this episode with your friends and family. It will help us out tremendously. And until next time, be kind.
Rewind. Good God Almighty.
It's over. You've been listening to the VHS Files Podcast.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe and drop us a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast.
It was fun.
Send your questions, comments, and movie suggestions to vhsfilespodcast@gmail.com.
You sick fucks, you've seen one too many movies.
Don't you blame the movies!
Follow us on all social media outlets at VHS Files Podcast.
Movies don't create psychos!
Check out our YouTube channel for more content.
Movies make psychos more creative!
Thanks for listening.
We basically did say that, me and Josh are basically dumb. We only know horror movies. We're saying that you were the smart one.
Thanks. I knew that.
I only had to do it because it annoys him.
Oh,
hey, guys, we did it.
We did it.
We finally did your movie that you've been wanting to do forever.
When we do that episode.
Doo-doo.
Doo-doo.